3 fingers. That was the extent of the contact. The barista's hand, reaching past you to collect the abandoned cup on the counter, brushed your forearm with exactly 3 fingers for approximately 1.5 seconds. A thermal event, nothing more. The fabric of your sleeve absorbed the pressure. Your skin registered it, filed it under negligible, and returned to its previous occupation of holding your own cup steady. You did not look up. You did not flinch. You did not think of it again. But someone else did. They were standing 3 bodies back in the queue, close enough to see the gesture, close enough to map the exact coordinates of those 3 fingers against the navy wool of your coat, and something in their chest performed a maneuver that should have required medical supervision. It was not jealousy. Jealousy is too small a word for what happened. Jealousy is what you feel when someone takes your seat at a concert. This was older. This was the sound of a door in a fortress that had been left unlocked for years, suddenly slamming shut with enough force to crack the stone around the hinges. They did not blink. They did not look away from the place where the barista's hand had been. They simply noted it, cataloged it, filed it under a heading they had been avoiding since the day they met you, evidence that waiting is no longer safe. Because here is what you do not know, Virgo. While you have been living your life with the orderly, self-contained competence that is your signature, while you have been moving through rooms and streets and offices and coffee shops with your attention fixed on the task at hand, someone has been maintaining a vigil. A very quiet, very respectful, very ancient vigil. They have been standing at the perimeter of your life like a sentinel who has sworn an oath not to enter the sanctuary until invited. They have watched other hands touch your shoulder in greeting. They have watched other bodies lean in close to whisper at parties, close enough to smell your shampoo. They have watched other eyes rest on your face with appreciation, with curiosity, with the tentative, testing gaze of people who are wondering if you might be available. And until recently, they have let it happen. They have told themselves that patience is a form of love, that restraint is respect, that to want you is to wait for you, and that waiting means giving you space to notice them in your own time, according to your own rhythm, without pressure, without claim, without the primitive urgency that turns courtship into conquest. They were wrong. The barista's 3 fingers were the final entry in a ledger that had been growing longer than they wanted to admit. There was the colleague last Tuesday who touched the small of your back to guide you through a doorway, a gesture so brief and so socially sanctioned that you probably never registered it, but they saw the shape of the hand and the way it lingered a quarter beat longer than necessary. There was the friend at the gathering who hugged you goodbye and held on for 1 extra inhale, their cheek pressed to your hair, and they watched your shoulders drop into the embrace with a trust that made them want to tear the room apart with their teeth. There was the stranger on the train who offered you a seat and in doing so let their palm graze your elbow, a meaningless collision of strangers in transit, but to the one watching it was a declaration of war. Each touch, however innocent, however accidental, however buried under layers of social politeness, was being recorded. Each one was proof that the territory they had been guarding in silence was not being respected, not because you were doing anything wrong. You were simply existing in your body, in your warmth, in your unguarded availability, and the world was starting to notice what they had been seeing all along. And they have decided that the vigil is over. If you are touching your own forearm right now, if you are suddenly aware of the places where other people's hands have landed today without your permission, if you feel a strange heat rising in your throat that tastes like warning and want mixed together, I need you to stay very still. Do not move, just breathe. And if you know in the hollow of your sternum exactly who I am talking about, hit that like button. Not as a transaction, as a flare fired into the dark. Subscribe to this channel because this is the only place that tracks the movements of people who are about to cross borders they have been guarding for years. And drop the word mine in the comments, not as a claim you are making, as a word they are thinking, over and over, in a voice that is no longer whispering. Now, let me tell you what is happening inside them, because it is not what you think. You believe, if you have thought of them at all in this context, that they are calm, that they are collected, that they move through their days with the same measured, rational, emotionally regulated stride that they present to the world. You have seen them be patient. You have seen them be polite. You have seen them watch you from a distance with a smile that seemed friendly, helpful, perhaps fond, but never threatening. You have categorized them as safe, as someone who respects your boundaries, as someone who would never dream of imposing, and they were all of those things until the ledger filled up. What changed was not their feelings. Their feelings have been absolute since the beginning. What changed was their understanding of time. They realized, with a clarity that arrived like a blow to the sternum, that time is not infinite, that patience is not always virtuous, that waiting for you to notice them, while noble in theory, has become a form of cowardice in practice, because every day they wait is another day when someone else's hand might find your arm, another day when someone else might gather the courage they have been hoarding, another day when you might, in your practical, methodical Virgo way, decide that the single life suits you, or meet someone who does not hesitate, or simply harden into a version of yourself that no longer has an entry point for the kind of love they have been keeping in reserve. They looked at the future and saw a hallway of closed doors, and they decided, with a ferocity that has rearranged their internal architecture, that they would rather break down the door than spend one more season in the hallway. So they are rushing, not stumbling, not flailing, rushing with the focused, irreversible momentum of a river that has finally breached its dam. They are moving toward you with a speed that would terrify you if you could see it from above, if you could watch the map of their days being redrawn in real time. Appointments are being canceled. Boundaries are being drawn with a sharpness that shocks the people around them. They are saying no to things they have said yes to for years. No to the social obligations that eat their evenings. No to the professional opportunities that keep them on the wrong side of the city from you. No to the friends who have been using them as an emotional support animal without ever asking what they need. They are clearing the deck with ruthlessness that looks from the outside like a personality change. Their colleagues are confused. Their family is concerned. Their inner circle is whispering about burnout, about crisis, about a midlife pivot. But it is none of those things. It is preparation. It is the removal of every obstacle between their current coordinates and yours. They are also, and this is the part that should make your breath catch, removing the obstacles between you and them. the ambiguity, the polite distance, the careful language that has kept you in the category of friend or colleague or acquaintance or whatever label has allowed them to be near you without declaring the true nature of their presence. That label is being peeled off, not gently, not slowly. They are ripping it away like a bandage that has been covering a wound for too long, and the air that hits the exposed skin is painful and necessary and absolutely vital. They have started with the people around you, not with announcements, not with drama, but with corrections. When someone mentions you in their presence as a potential match for a third party, they feel their spine straighten and their voice drop into a register that does not invite debate. They say things like, "That will not be necessary," or "Virgo is not available," or simply, with a look that could freeze Mercury, "No." And when the speaker blinks and asks what they mean, they do not elaborate. They do not explain. They let the silence do the work. They let the weight of their certainty press down on the conversation until the subject changes or the speaker retreats. They are marking territory. They are drawing a line around you in ink that cannot be washed away by rain or time or social pressure. And they are doing it without your knowledge, not because they want to control you, but because they have finally understood that to love you is to protect the space around you until you are ready to invite them inside it. But the real rush, the real claiming, is happening in the direct channel between their heart and yours. They have composed a message, not a text, not a DM, something that requires handwriting or voice or presence, something that cannot be deleted or minimized or left unread without consequence. They have been rehearsing it in the mirror, in the shower, in the car at stoplights, and every version begins the same way, an acknowledgement that they have been holding back, followed by a declaration that the holding back stops now. They are going to tell you that they have watched you, that they have seen the hands that have touched you and the eyes that have lingered and the casual, careless way the world has treated you as if you were not already spoken for. They are going to tell you that they know you do not belong to anyone, that you are sovereign, that you are free, but they are going to ask you with a directness that will leave no room for misinterpretation to consider belonging with them. And the asking will not be a question. It will be an offer, a proposal, a laying down of arms, and a simultaneous raising of a flag. They are going to offer you their time first, all of it. The evenings they used to give to Netflix and exhaustion. The weekends they used to fill with errands and avoidance. The early mornings they used to spend alone, scrolling through their phone in the dark. They are going to offer you these hours as a tribute, not as a transaction. They want to be where you are. They want to hand you coffee before you ask for it. They want to learn the choreography of your mornings so they can anticipate your needs before you voice them. They want to occupy the space next to you so consistently, so thoroughly, that the memory of your solitude becomes a distant country you visited once but no longer need to return to. They are going to offer you their attention next, the real kind, the kind that does not glance at a screen while you are speaking, the kind that listens to the spaces between your words as carefully as the words themselves. They have been studying you, Virgo, not in a predatory way, in a cartographic way. They have mapped the terrain of your preferences, your aversions, your silent requests, and they are ready to navigate that terrain with the precision of a pilgrim who has finally reached the sacred mountain. They know you do not like to be rushed. They know you need notice before plans are made. They know you prefer quality over quantity, depth over breadth, one true thing over 1,000 pleasant distractions. And they are adjusting their entire operating system to match your frequency. They are becoming fluent in your language. And the fluency is not a performance, it is a homecoming. They are going to offer you their body last, not in the crude, grasping way that the word claiming sometimes implies, but in the ancient way, the way of skin against skin as a boundary against the world, the way of a hand on your lower back that says, I am here and no one else gets to stand this close. The way of arms that fold around you in public, not to display possession, but to create a shelter. They want to touch you with a constancy that makes all other touches fade into background noise. They want to be the hand that helps you out of the car, the shoulder you lean on in a crowded room, the chest you wake up against when the world has been too loud. They want to replace the memory of every casual, careless contact you have ever endured with the weight of their own deliberate, devoted presence. They want to be the only touch your skin remembers. And Virgo, when this happens, when the rush arrives at your door in the form of a person who is breathless but certain, who has torn down their own life to make room for yours, who has abandoned patience in favor of presence, you are going to feel a desire to run, not because you do not want them, but because you have been touched by so many hands that did not know what they were holding. You have been handled by people who saw you as convenient, as pleasant, as a temporary resting place. You have been held loosely by those who should have held you like scripture, and the sensation of someone finally gripping you with the intention of never letting go is going to trigger every defense mechanism you have built. You are going to want to say, slow down. We have time. You are going to want to say, you do not need to rush. I am not going anywhere. You are going to want to protect them from their own urgency, to smooth the edges of their declaration, to turn the claiming into a negotiation. Do not do it. Do not slow them down. Do not tell them to breathe. Do not apply your usual balm of reason to a fire that needs to burn. They have been breathing for months. They have been reasonable for years. They have waited with a discipline that would qualify them for sainthood, and the only reward for their patience has been the sight of other people's hands on your skin. Let them rush. Let them arrive winded and certain and slightly wild-eyed. Let them cross the threshold they have been guarding and step into the center of your life with the full weight of their devotion. They are not asking you to surrender. They are asking you to be the destination at the end of a sprint they have been running in place for half a lifetime. You need to understand what this claiming means for them. It is not ownership, it is recognition. They are not trying to acquire you. They are trying to align with you. The difference is everything. Ownership says, you are mine because I want you. Alignment says, I am yours because I have always been yours, and I am done pretending otherwise. Ownership demands that you shrink to fit their grasp. Alignment expands to hold your exact dimensions. Ownership is about control. Alignment is about convergence. And what is rushing toward you is alignment in its most urgent, most undeniable, most physically manifest form. They have already begun the work of fitting their life around yours. They have looked at their calendar and removed the entries that do not serve your future together. They have looked at their living space and seen the empty side of the bed as an accusation. They have looked at their bank account and started making calculations that include 2 people instead of 1. They have been walking through their days like a person packing for a journey they are about to take, and the destination is not a place, it is you. standing in your kitchen or your office or your garden or wherever you are when they finally arrive, and they are going to look at you and say, I am here. I am not waiting anymore. I am claiming the space beside you, and I am asking you to let me stay. And when they say it, you are going to feel the strangest sensation, not the butterflies of new romance, not the nausea of anxiety, something older, something that feels like a key turning in a lock that has been rusted shut for decades, something that feels like the floor beneath your feet becoming solid after years of standing on shifting ground, something that feels like home, but not the home you grew up in, the home you were meant to build, the home that has been waiting for both of you to arrive at its coordinates, and they have just sprinted the last mile to make sure they get there before anyone else does. There is a specific way they are going to touch you when they arrive. Not the tentative, questioning touch of someone who is still asking permission, not the aggressive, grasping touch of someone who is trying to possess, the touch of a person who has finally reached the shore after swimming through a storm, the touch of someone who is claiming sanctuary. They are going to put their hand on your face first, not your waist, not your hand, your face. Because the face is the place where your soul lives most visibly. They are going to cradle your jaw with a palm that is slightly cold from the rush, from the wind, from the adrenaline of finally acting on what they have felt for so long. And they are going to look at you with an expression that has no name in ordinary language. It is not desire, though desire is there. It is not relief, though relief is flooding them. It is the look of a person who has just realized that the thing they have been guarding in their chest is not fragile, it is not a dream, it is a compass, and it has led them exactly where they were always meant to be. And then they are going to kiss you. Not a question, not a test, a statement. A period at the end of a sentence they have been writing since the day they met you. Their lips are going to taste like urgency and coffee and the faint, metallic tang of courage. And when they pull back, they are going to say your name, just your name, as if it were the only word they know in the entire language, as if everything else were just preparation for the sound of those syllables spoken in the space between your mouth and theirs. After that, the claiming continues. It is not a single moment. It is a new default setting. They are going to hold your hand in public with a grip that says, I am not ashamed and I am not sharing. They are going to introduce you to people with a phrase that does not include the word friend. They are going to stand between you and the world when the world gets too loud, too close, too demanding. Not because you cannot handle the world. You can handle the world better than most. But because they have finally understood that to love you is to be your buffer, your shelter, your first line of defense against the casual, careless hands that think they can touch what belongs to a devotion, this absolute. They are going to move quickly. Do not be alarmed. Do not apply the brakes. The speed is not desperation. It is certainty finally allowed to move at its natural velocity. They will want to merge their life with yours in concrete, tangible ways. They will want to leave things at your place. They will want to clear a drawer for you in theirs. They will want to book trips, make reservations, plan futures that assume your presence as a given. And every time they do this, every time they act as if your togetherness is not a possibility but a fact, you are going to feel a small shock of recognition, because it is a fact. It has always been a fact. They are simply the first one brave enough to treat it as such. Now, I need to tell you what your role is in this claiming, because you are not a passive prize to be won. You are the sovereign of this territory, and they know it. They are not storming your castle. They are kneeling at your gate, holding out the keys to their own kingdom and asking for alliance. Your job is not to surrender. Your job is to receive. To open the gate not because you are overwhelmed, but because you recognize the flag they are carrying. To let them in not because you are tired of being alone, but because you are ready to stop being alone with someone who deserves to stand beside you. When they arrive, look them in the eye. Do not look down. Do not look away. Do not hide behind the list of reasons why this is too fast, too sudden, too much. Hold their gaze with the same steadiness you bring to everything else. And if your heart is saying yes, if your body is leaning in instead of pulling back, if your skin is warming under the memory of a touch that has not even happened yet, but that you suddenly desperately want, then say yes. Not with a whisper, with your full voice. Let them hear the door open. Let them hear the bolt slide back. Let them hear the sound of your permission, because that sound is the only thing they have been waiting for. Everything else, the rush, the claiming, the sprint across the territory of their own fear, they did that themselves. But the yes is yours to give, and it is the only key that turns the lock from the inside. Do not make them wait at the threshold. Do not ask for more proof. Do not test their patience when they have already proven that their patience was the only thing standing between you and this moment. Take their hand. Feel the chill of the wind they ran through to get to you. Warm it with your own, and step forward into the space they have cleared for you. It is ready. It has always been ready. The furniture is arranged. The bed is made. The table is set for two, and the only thing missing was your willingness to occupy the place that has been held in reserve for you since before you knew their name. They are coming. They are already running. They have already crossed the border of their own hesitation, and they are moving toward you with a speed that makes the air scream. Let them arrive. Let them be breathless. Let them be certain. Let them touch your face with hands that have been empty for too long, and let them claim the only thing they have ever truly wanted. You stand still. The door is open, and they are already home.